1 2 1 2. Okay, so we're live. Sound is back. I'm going to put this link now live on the Patreon. Okay. All right. Here you go. And here's your questions.
Can they hear me?
Yes. I'm going to put on my headphones.
All right. Sorry about that. It took 6 minutes to fix. It's some consistent problem. Don't know why. I think it corresponds with the Patreon update, but I don't know. Who knows? That's
We're good. Audio is good.
Okay. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, patrons. In keeping with tradition, we'll do the weather report as an homage to David Lynch. And the weather is you cannot feel the air outside. It is the exact correct temperature. You cannot perceive that there is air out there. Okay, great questions this week. Let me find them. Right here. Great questions. Okay, so ZH asks, cannot get any projects started for a long time. Tons of ideas, zero actions. What helps you beat procrastination or whatever the hell it is? I haven't really had that problem. I have a problem with getting things done in time. That's something that is difficult to do. But I'm just a busybody, and just maybe you're in the wrong medium. Maybe I don't know. What's the point? I don't understand what the point of the projects is if you're not just clawing to get them done. And why I don't really get why you're pursuing them, but I don't know. I procrastinate. Let's see. I procrastinate with stuff I don't want to do, like taxes and making phone calls and appointments and stuff like that. And how do I get over those? Usually it's just do or die. It's like, okay, if you don't do this, if you don't make this phone call, it's gonna cost you $10,000. So make the phone call or whatever. But as far as my work, yeah, no, because I'm on since I started making in the beginning when I started making things, there was not enough time in the day to make the things I wanted to make. And it was just like one after another. And then once I started making a living at it, the things I made never made me enough money to like sustain myself. So I was just back against the wall, treadmill, having to crank out as much stuff as possible. So I don't have the luxury of procrastination, I guess. But I remember procrastinate. I procrastinate with other things, and I procrastinated in school because I hated it with papers and all of that stuff. But as far as projects, just pick one and do it until it's done, and before you move on to the next one. Okay, so here's a great question from Kyle. Any stories of your old Power Stroke 7.3 that you wouldn't mind sharing? So that's the engine, the big diesel engine that's in like a Ford F-350. And I had one of those pickup trucks. I had an 02. And the thing was just unbelievably reliable. And it was like pure torque. It was such a strong engine. And I can only remember it breaking It broke once in Montana. It wouldn't start. Just plumes of white smoke coming out. And I think that was, we were at altitude. It wasn't the altitude. It was cold. And I don't think I'd ever had the truck in the cold. And one of the glow plugs was gone. I think it was something like that. Or maybe the glow plug rail was gone. And I went to in Missoula, I think. I went to a Ford dealer, and of course, compared to an old Land Cruiser, they have all the parts and stuff, and the guy stayed open late. They were really helpful, and they got us on the road. Another time it wouldn't start. I think either the starter was broken or the batteries were dead. I don't remember, something like that. But other than that, no, it was just a bomb-proof animal. But it only got about 16, 17 miles to the gallon, which I guess sounds kind of good, actually, for that big monster. But compared to the 25 I get now, it's different. But what a great truck. That's such a cool engine. Isaac, hello from Fort Lauderdale. I was wondering if there are any plans to bring the merch back. If yes, any new items coming in the year? There's loose plans. The thing with the merch is like just everybody kind of breaks even. There's no real money in it. So it's something I want to do for you guys. And I want to make sure that it's just, I don't know, I'm thinking of two different categories. The like made in China merch and then the like heirloom quality merch. So we're just ironing stuff out for that, but I don't know is the answer. Are you familiar with Robbie Mueller's work? Maybe, but I'm not very good with names. I would love to see you do something. Oh, this is from Mitchell. I would love to see you do something with a Polaroid SX70. My favorite industrial film is by the Eames, Charles and Ray Eames, and it was an industrial film about the SX70, about exactly how it works. And it was made for the Polaroid Corporation. It was just like a 16 millimeter film to be played for the employees of Polaroid. And it's so great. And it has such heart in it and perfect style. And it's, made right down here in Venice. So I'm definitely familiar with the Polaroid SX70. Very cool little folding Polaroid camera. This is from AA. Hello from an Englishman briefly in Berlin for a weekend. Does anything spring to mind when you think of things you have completed recently that have given you tremendous satisfaction? Tremendous is a strong word, but I liked the 39 things I never have to do again video, and I liked the wheelie video. Like getting that wheelie was satisfying. That was really satisfying. And I'd then for work, I'd have to go through the list and be like, yeah, that one. I have to go to the list of all the videos and be like, that one I liked, so forth. Can you show us your watch collection? This is from Jonathan. I've noticed a few watches that you've worn, like the Huckleberry Timex collaboration Ironman and the Marathon G-SAR. Well, it's just this and the old Timex. That's the only watches I have. I had this $20 Casio from Amazon, but then it just stopped working, and then I got myself this for my birthday, and I like it because the numbers and hands glow no matter what, because it's radioactive isotopes, some radioactive hydrogen in these little tubes, so they glow no matter what. You don't have to charge them with a lamp or anything. They just glow. And when I wake up in the middle of the night, I need to know how many more hours until I have to wake up in the morning. And if you turn a light on, it wakes you up, and I think you're set to be awake. This is from Nathaniel. Hi, Van. Both you and Casey seem to have these little nook workshops in the corner of your studios. I'm curious why you haven't carved out more room for workshop type activities. Well, I'm in there all the time, working every day. I've already been in there today. It's kind of the manufacturing sector of our house, and there's just some practical reasons. It's hard to get camera and lighting in there. It's super small, and lately I've been indulging in making stuff without the camera, because as soon as I add the camera, it removes all fun, because now you're making the thing and you're making a video about the thing. So that's probably why. But for the more like specifically handmade stuff, I'm in the workshop a bunch. This is from Ivan. Hey Van, video photo storage is a source of constant stress in my life. Is there any chance you would make a video out of your recent zine? It's excellent and seems like you have this process nailed. Have I done that? I feel like I've done the video, but I've probably just made a video about the zine, like generally, and not specifically about that file storage thing. That's a good idea. I wonder if people would care. I wonder if people are interested in it. I guess it would be a trick. You'd have to just do a great title and thumbnail, and then maybe people would watch it. But I have a very just a straightforward system. I think the fundamental of it is you got to have the drives that I work off of, because I'm dealing with video stuff. I'm not, photos is different. Just buy lots of hard drives. That's the fundamental thing. Chronological, and always have a backup. Always have a backup. I've been working with computers since 1981. So that's 43 years. And they fail. Every computer I've ever had has failed. I've had hard drives fail. I've had everything will fail. And if you have one hard drive with your precious, precious photos on it, God help you. So in the cloud, I mean, I don't really get it. I have terabytes and terabytes of like, how much cloud are you going to rent? And someday that's not going to be as cheap as it is. And then how are you going to download? I mean, I don't know. It's just, so my thing is just hard drive and backup hard drives. And I like the little hard drives that are like this big, and then just store everything chronologically. And then when you fill it up or get like 3/4 of it full to its capacity, then you get the next one, date the exterior of the hard drive with a whiteout pen, and then keep all of the source hard drives in one place, and then your backup hard drives in another place. That's the fundamentals of it. But you got to get in the habit of just folder, wipe the card on once it's backed up, wipe the card on your cameras so you have fresh cameras. A lot of times things get erased because you're adding to the camera, you're adding to the card, the SD card, and then you get, oh wait, I can delete these because I already have these stored, and then you end up deleting the new ones that you don't have stored. So that's something I battle with. And this is another one from Mitchell. Another question. Sorry. What is your digital file storage backup strategy? I just told you. Rodrigo asks, but I love this question. It's very nerdy. Besides plywood 3/4 inch AC, what's your favorite lumber/timber dimensions? For example, 2x4 plywood, 1/2 inch, etc., to work with, and why? You know what I love? I don't really work with that many different kinds of wood, but I love the like 3/4 inch, but it's called like a 1x pine, like, and you can get like premium pine that doesn't have knots in it. It's like 1x6, it's probably like 1x6, 1x8, 1x10, like the kind you make shelves out of. Like I love that stuff, and to carve stuff out of that. I also like 1/4 inch AC plywood, and there's a couple varieties of it with where like the middle ply isn't gross. Some varieties, the middle ply is gross, and it like splits, it like delaminates. And sometimes I know at my guy at Topanga Hardware, or Topanga Lumber, they have the good stuff. They have the good 1/4 inch. I like that. And then I like trim that's like 1/4 inch. I make a lot of stuff out of it. I just don't have anything around here to like, oh, this is a little box thing that I put my my Leica goes on here, and it's like over there so that I can shoot myself. It's like the perfect height for my head. And this is like 1/4 inch by 3 inch maybe trim that you get at Home Depot. You buy by the foot. I love this stuff. You got to be really careful, and you got to have a really sharp jigsaw blade, which I have like a lifetime supply of, because I think one of you patrons, somebody who's friends with Tom Sachs, I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name, sent me like a lifetime supply of jigsaw blades. So I'm like rich in jigsaw blades. So I'm always using fresh precision wood or precision metal blades. Anyway, those are some of the woods I love. All right, from Tanner, you've reached successful dentist. It's true. To co-op a question from a miserable former life, where do you see yourself in 5 years? A dentist sees more fillings and extractions in perpetuity until retirement or death. Presumably, your future will be more dynamic. What's that look like in your mind? So, in about 5 years, I intend to wind the channel down and not be as productive with the channel as I am now, and concentrate more on public speaking and writing, and teaching in some capacity, but I don't really know what. Um, that might be like developing teaching platforms and stuff like that, or I don't know what. It might just be education. Maybe I'm not teaching. I don't really know what. And then I'd like to, my daughter will be entering elementary school, will be entering like kindergarten then, and then my son will be entering middle school or so then. So I'm thinking possibly, maybe very exploratory, thinking about it, not committing in the slightest bit, but thinking about perhaps maybe the possibility I might maybe live in a foreign country somewhere, like, I don't know, maybe Argentina or Spain or something, depending on how things roll out in the next few years. And then write and operate from that, whatever that base, that home base headquarters is. But I have to get my finances set because I'm not, I'm still like paycheck to paycheck, even though the paychecks are a good size. Okay, I've watched and read 10. Oh, this is from Faith. I've watched and read 10 bullets and loved it. What are your bullets? This is a good one. I find myself writing them and then I lose where I've written them and they're all scattered everywhere. But I think the main one is one piece at a time. You got to do one project at a time and you got to finish the project before you move on to the project. I have certain roommates that I live with. They call themselves my family, and they have a tendency to make lunch, leave it out on the counter, and then go do laundry and leave it on the thing, and then go do and then the car seats in the driveway, and it's like, no, you do one thing until it's done, then you move on to the next thing until that's done, including cleaning it up and putting all the tools away. So that's definitely, but that's also in be thorough. But one actually, and with Sachs, who's Tom Sachs and John Ferguson wrote 10 Bullets. Um, he does not do one at a time. He doesn't do one piece at a time. He has many projects going simultaneously, but that necessitates a crew. So he has to have a bunch of projects going because he's got like a dozen people working over there and he's got to keep them busy. But it's basically just Braxton and me. So I usually have one thing going at a time, and then Braxton has like one thing going at a time. So that's one of my bullets. I mean, the ones just, I don't know, the punctuality one that's already in 10 bullets, be on time. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer for you. Willie asks, do you know anything about Sam Hyde? Is that the second question of that? Is that the second person to ask me that? No, I just read it earlier. Okay. I don't know anything about Sam Hyde. Sorry. I don't know the name. James asks, how do you deal with a breakup? Well, did I answer this one last time too? Or did I answer this in whatever? Last week I did last time. I haven't broken up with someone for 10 years. And back then it was like, get all the boys around me, avoid women, be very busy, play lots of Guitar Hero, nap, like sleep all the time. and then like and Nothing Compares to You, the Sinead O'Connor version of Nothing Compares to You, basically on a loop until you've kind of flushed her out of your system. ARJ asks, are there moments of you just ad-libbing into the camera with your raw thoughts, or do you create the script in your head without writing it out when out there shooting in the field? Trying to find out if most that you create is carefully planned and executed, then shooting and later editing to suit the narrative. No, it's mostly preconceived. And if I am sitting in front of the camera and just riffing, I have already written a an outline of a starting point, an ending point, and then things I want to hit on. And then usually I go too long with that, and then I just edit. And I take a lot of pauses, and I forget like what things are called, and I have to stop, and I just kind of freeze in the same moment until I think of the word, and I'm like, architecture, and then I just cut out that frozen part so it just looks like you can kind of see the cut, but no, it's all pretty much predetermined. It used to be with Casey, when I worked with Casey back in that era, it used to be we'd just run around and shoot stuff and go crazy, but it's such a unbelievable waste of time to not have an agenda. It's like really, it's so time consuming that I'm not rich enough to like function that way. Although sometimes I can, like last Friday, like the starter for the truck arrived like 3 days before I was expecting it, the starter for the Land Cruiser. And like, I was just like, let's just shoot a movie about this. And it was fun. But even that had structure. I immediately thought of what is the structure of this, and I figured one out, and then we went and just kind of lived the structure. But yeah, with it's just illusion. It's just illusion. It just looks like everybody's living off the top of their head. All this stuff is super well. Otherwise, it would be super boring if it wasn't planned and. But it's part of it's probably there's a class of them that where it's not structured. Like I'm going on a trip, God willing, I'm going on a trip next week with my boy, and I'm just bringing a camera, and I don't have any plans for filmmaking, and I'll just try to like shoot things for fun, and then maybe I'll think of something to structure it around when I get home. But the structure is so built into my just living life that who's to say whether I'm making the movie out of the thing I'm doing, or I'm doing the thing out of making the movie, or whatever. Okay, Michael Malloy, if you would give an assignment for high school filmmakers, what would it be? A very simple assignment. I would say, although I wouldn't, okay, this is how I would do it. I would break it up into 2 days. I would say, okay, it'd be 2 assignments, but really 1. I'd say, okay, tomorrow or whatever, I want you guys to come to class with your favorite 5 minutes, uncut a favorite 5-minute portion of a favorite movie of yours. So they would go on YouTube or whatever. Maybe they'd have to rip it from a DVD or whatever. So it'd be like, that'd be part 1. Bring that into class tomorrow or whatever. And then, you talk about blah, blah, blah. Why do you like it? Well, I like it because it's really cool. I don't know. I just like it. I don't know. I just really like it. Okay. So, and then I would say, and this is the actual assignment, I would say, okay, I want you to bring that 5 minutes into Final Cut Pro and cut it on each cut each cut. And that would be an assignment. What they should really do, and this is what I used to do, is you do the whole fucking movie. Is you take the whole movie apart, you pull in the whole movie. But that's a lot of hard drive space and stuff, and just cut the whole thing apart. And then you get to really see how a movie's made. And the first thing you teach is editing. That's the first thing a kid needs to learn is editing. That's the first thing you need to learn when you're making a film is editing. The cameras are for chimpanzees can use cameras. There is no you need to know absolutely nothing to use any of these contemporary cameras. They're effortless, easy. There's no craft to it. It's totally, and I'm talking about phones, and the phones are like pretty much perfect. They have little brains in them that prioritize the exposures in certain areas of the frame and everything. So the camera is not the thing anymore. If you're good at the camera, good for you. Go get yourself a Instagram account. Editing's the only thing you need. You don't need a camera. You can just pull stuff off YouTube. One of the great documentary filmmakers among us, Adam Curtis, he doesn't use a camera. All of his stuff is just is him talking and him from the BBC archives, from the millions of hours of archived news footage they have. And then he does a voiceover in his interpretation of it. So teach the kids editing first. I cannot emphasize that much. Editing teaches you all of the other things. Editing teaches you how to write. Editing teaches you how to shoot. Editing teaches you how to perform, how to do voiceover, all of that stuff. Editing. It's also probably the most difficult. Writing's probably harder, but editing is the most technically, they're all pretty technical, but editing's technically, it's sophisticated, it's complicated. There's lots of stuff going on. Anyway, the dude, but that's a great question for give assignment for high school filmmakers. Take apart a movie. That's what you're going to do. This is from the dude, Jeff Lebowski. Van, I love Land Cruisers. Got picked up one hitchhiking in Central Australia way back when in the 1990s. Thought when I settled down, I'm going to get myself one of these. And you know what? I did. Best car I ever owned. Bomb-proof. My grandfather would say you could tow a chapel with one of these. I guess it's not a question, but I agree. I first rode in a Land Cruiser, I think. Well, Martha McConnell in Watch Hill, which was like the rich. Watch Hill is where Taylor Swift bought her mansion in Rhode Island, that place in Rhode Island. And this was way before Taylor Swift, but Martha McConnell in Watch Hill, she was a private school girl and she had like full use of her parents' Land Cruiser. And it was like, whoa, it was so gigantic. And it had a third row of seats. It was so cool. And then that was the first one I ever rode in. And then I think in Africa was like the first boxy 70 series one I ever rode in. And I was the same. I was like, I'm getting one of these someday, man. Felix, it's been a while since the last zine was released. We're currently at 6K subscribers and 3.2K paid patrons on Patreon. I definitely enjoyed the media management edition. Have you considered standalone zines in your store or amending the publishing frequency with enough demand? Because I don't live in LA or Austin, I don't see myself making it to any of the repair stations. And I think seeing the attendance at those events gives a rough idea of how impactful your work is. I'm glad to continue to support and will spread the channel Patreon as much as possible. Just want to echo my feedback as a patron. No, I'm going to stick with they're pain in the neck to make, and they take about a week to make, and I'm going to stick to it. When it crosses the 4,000 mark, then I'll make the next zine. Standalone zines in your store, there's just no money in it. There's just no, it wouldn't be for a money thing. And I've thought about it, but it would just, then there's also licensing stuff. I use all of this imagery and stuff. I use like Shel Silverstein imagery. I don't know. It's like, just samples from movies and everything, and all that stuff is copyrighted. And I definitely couldn't sell enough of them to make any money at it. And then you have the downloads. So what's the point? Just like me doing the downloading and printing out, me doing the printing out and stapling and assembling and mailing them. But, I'm not going to make any money at it. So I'd rather just make videos. Okay. Steven asks, are there any musicians or bands that are particularly influential or inspiring you? I think most it's Bob Dylan. I think he's the most influential guy. He's the one that like I've really just dive into those lyrics. And depending on how miserable I am, the more he has more and more meaning. So the more miserable I am, the more I dive into the music. I also love the Bruce Springsteen, like the really sad Bruce Springsteen songs, like that Nebraska album. Um, I don't know. Those are the two big guys for me. And then there's hip hop equivalent. There's hip hop guys on that are that too, like Wu Tang and stuff. But I don't really seek shelter with the hip hop stuff. That's more like fun, like when I'm feeling tough, kind of music. And then the country stuff, the I like is it called classic country? I don't know. All that stuff in the early in the like middle episodes of the Ken Burns country music documentary, like Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and Chris Christopherson and George Strait and who's it? Merle Haggard and those guys. Um, and then the gals are great too. Tammy Wynette and Loretta. Um, that stuff, that like classic country that's in like Five Easy Pieces or one of those old Hal Ashby movies, maybe. Um, yeah, I love that. I love that stuff. Um, this one's hard, Peter. If you could design your own custom tool that could be made for others, what would it be, and what would it be used for? How would it solve the problems you envision the tool handling? I would like to have a little module that's the size of a I don't know how big it would be. It would be like this big. And you would plug it into it would have a USB-C male USB-C thing on it, and you would plug it into your computer or you'd plug it into your phone or your iPad or whatever, and you'd just say to it, "Fix this problem," and then it would fix whatever the problem was right there. And I guarantee you, I will bet you 10 American dollars that AI, no matter how sophisticated it gets, will never, ever, ever be able to do such a simple and necessary task because the nature of these dumb computers is that they're always broken. that's that's the computers flips that dumb insanity quote. The definition of insanity, and then it's always attributed to like 50 wrong people. Like, well, Plato said, Einstein said, Freud said the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Okay, have you ever tried to destroy a rock with a sledgehammer? You do the same thing over and over again and nothing happens, and then at some point the rock disintegrates. But the flip of that is kind of true. Is insanity is using a computer over and over again and expecting the same results. And that's what's frustrating about them, like the sound thing today. Anyway, any excuse to go off on a computer rant. Yeah, I'd invent a little USB flash drive that you plugged in. It just knew that there was a problem and then just fixed it. That's the tool that I would love. Would you ever consider? Oh, Khalil. Would you ever consider switching to monthly uploads and spending a bit more time on each project? Maybe creating films closer to your earlier uploads like Influence or Women. I know the income is different, but say you were to relish whoa. But say you were to request a certain level of commitment from your Patreon supporters. Say you were to request. Okay. If you hit your target support, you create more in-depth pieces that allow you to become more invested or involved in your film. I think that's what I'm working towards. That's what I'm trying to do. I would like to, and this is a slippery slope weird thing. This is slippery slope because you can end up like Kubrick and it's 10 years between projects. So you got to be, but then you got a Kubrick project. So I don't know, but I would love to be able to, and I think I'm evolving towards just go real careful and slow. But lately when I've tried to do that, I've just um be giving myself more free time because I'm like so burnt out. So I've just been like spending more time with the kids, working fewer hours, and like sleeping in till 5. I used to sleep till 4, although today I got up at 3:30. So um uh but yeah, I mean I do want to do that. Um I do want to spend more time on projects and have them be more involved. Um Maybe if I get a sponsorship situation where I'm at a level where I can have a sponsor do an episode per month. I don't know. It's really is kind of it is kind of a money thing. So when it's not a money thing anymore, then I probably will do that. Or hell, maybe I'll just do it after my next commitment, my next sponsorship commitment. But yes, the answer is yes. I want to spend more time and do more involved things. Okay, so Corey asks, M. My partner got the M Leica and she loves it. I'll keep using the Q2, but mainly because of its ruggedness and simplicity. Grab and go. How's your Land Cruiser doing? Any new updates on your trucks? Any new gear you've acquired for them that are now necessary? Things you'd recommend, such as your dedicated toolkit that lives in your trucks. So I hadn't changed the air filter and the fuel filter on the brand new engine on the Land Cruiser. 'Cause I was like, it's a new engine. I don't need to check anything. And I hadn't like downloaded the periodic maintenance thing, which I have subsequently done. So the fuel filter, I'd gone to Mexico. Lord knows what kind of diesel I was buying down there. And so I was getting the fuel injector. I was getting a code, error. I can't remember what it's called, an error code or whatever on my Murphy gauge, and it said that like one of the injectors wasn't getting fuel or blah blah blah. So I swapped. So I would like pump the the fuel line. There's a little pump in the engine compartment. Pump the fuel line, close it, and then turn the starter until it almost killed my very strong and expensive battery. And then boom, it would start. And I did that like a few times. There was an era of when I was doing that. Then I switched and then when I figured out it was the fuel filter, I changed the fuel filter, changed the air filter, and then the code went away, and then it was fine. But I'm pretty sure I damaged the starter such that I burned it out. And so recently, like a couple weeks ago, the starter just didn't work. And I was furious. Even starting it, I feel like I should be able to go as long as I want. It's a brand new thing. I should be able to go like through 6 batteries worth of starter before that thing burns out. But I burned it out and yeah, I got it. I mean, I made a video, but you'll see about it. So, and then when I told my friend Alan, who owns Revival Cycles, he was like around when that was in that saga, and I told him how much it cost. I was like, it was like $600 and something. He goes, that's more expensive than a Ferrari starter. And he looked up on the internet, he Googled a Ferrari starter, and it was like $500 and something for a Ferrari one. So I was a bit pissed, but got a new one. Had my guy pop it in, and it's perfect. So I did get I got a Moto Tote made in Texas electric bike rack, and I need to send a warning out there. It says it will hold 500 pounds, and it's got this hinge in the middle so that it can flip up. It holds 2 bikes, right? It says it'll hold 500 pounds worth of bikes, or maybe it says it'll hold 300 pounds worth of bikes. And that's not true. The hinge breaks, it stretches and breaks, and then you have to replace that pipe that goes into your trailer hitch with the like heavy duty pipe that goes into your trailer hitch from Moto Tote, and then you have to drill about 4 holes big through like 1/4 inch steel with a step bit. You have to drill 4 holes, And I, since making that hop up to the Moto Tote electric bike rack thing, it's been diesel. It's been really good. Beat the hell out of it, and it's really good. I was just too cheap to buy the motorcycle Moto Tote because it's like twice as expensive as the electric bicycle Moto Tote. But still, my bike weighs 136 pounds, my electric dirt bike. And, it said it held 300. So I'm not happy that that happened, but I'm happy that I made the fix and it was no big deal. It was like, I don't know, that thing was less than $100 for the replacement part. So Gregory asks, it looks like you got a lot of gear through various projects, i.e. Nike Craft and others, and you've done some really awesome deep dives in your tool and gear. Can you run through some key clothing items in your wardrobe and their function, given or purchased? All right. Yeah, I've got this. I have this very nice warm wool Filson. I think it's called like a Seattle something Jack something Seattle Jack, or Jack something Seattle something from Filson. Super expensive, like $400 that Tom Sachs gave me. And I once saw in Santa Monica, I saw David Mamet in real life, and he was wearing the same shirt. So I was like, fuck yeah, cool. Carhartt double knee, the unwashed welders ones. I cut the loop off. And then in the summer, I wear from Roundhouse, I wear the white painters cotton pants. That's what I'm wearing right now. And then I take their label off and put my label on it. Let's just say hand sew it on there. Filson, I'm sorry, not Filson, Limmer boots, Smart Wool, the thickest, most expensive hiking wool socks. They keep your feet warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and they keep your feet dry because they're wool. And then at the beach, I wear like a LA Dodgers hat. And that's about it, really. Oh, and I have, when it's really cold, I have one of those, the Patagonia Fitzroy down coat, which is, oh my God, it's so luxurious. I love it. All right, so that's about it. That's about all I wear for clothes. EMJ says, loved your gift guides. What are some more of your go-to gifts or favorite gifts you've given? I've been really bad about giving gifts. Just doing framed pictures. I have that frames video. Just a great like black and white picture. Take pictures of everybody with my film camera, and then when it's like oh shit, it's so and so's birthday, just go through the photo albums and be like, oh, here's a good picture, and I buy the frames by the case. I keep them in the case of them in the basement. They're like $8 each. And then I put the picture in, and then with a whiteout, or with a white paint pen, I just do the time, date, and who's in the picture. No, the date, location, and who's in the picture. That's my go-to. Do you have advice for finding good friends? Oh, this is from Kevin. Is it always serendipitous, or is there some trick to it? It's a combination of both. You got to get out there, common interest stuff. If you don't have an interest, get one. Buy a Land Cruiser, you'll make friends because you'll be fixing them and figuring out where to get parts. And it's kind of like a little brotherhood. Motorcycles, same. It's a little brotherhood. Alcoholics Anonymous. Those are where probably most of my closest new friends are from. Because that's what the whole program really is. They have meetings that are just like men's based meetings. But if you're not an alcoholic, then don't be friends with those maniacs. Yeah, I'd say common interest stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really done any of that community, like this kind of stuff with the social media. It's called social media, but I'm just from a different era, so it doesn't feel organic to me. So I just like to make them serendipitous. But I live in crowded places, and I have a kind of a social job, and have kids. That'll be that. You can make lots of friends that way because your kids' parents, your friends with their kids and all that. All right. Ryan asked, what do you think about streaming? Of course, like all creators, it's hard to make it big, but what do you think about it as entrepreneurial? Is it immoral to play so much video games if you're also making a business money out of it? No, that's not immoral. Is it just a small business of entertaining others? Yeah, I mean, if you want to stream like I guess like Switch or Twitch, whatever that's called, yeah, just if you're interested in it, do it. And if you can make a living at it, God bless you. But yeah, I don't care one way or another. I watch live streams sometimes. Or do I? Actually, I think people say they do Premiere, but it's just pre-recorded and it looks like our live stream. Does that ever happen? I don't know. Yeah, it's fine. It's just broadcasting. Doing it right now. Vincent asks, oh no, it's not a question. He says he talks about he saw Dr. Strangelove and thought of me. Yeah, I love that movie. And then he said, I've always liked the idea of being a Marine and a fighter pilot or C-130 pilot or C-17 pilot. C-17's Air Force. My brother was a C-17 pilot, my youngest brother. In reality, I'm a 29-year-old accountant. I guess this is what they call a quarter life crisis, an identity crisis. Well, I wonder if you have kids, because when you have kids, you'll be glad that you're an accountant. Accountants do really, really well. My accountant is like a priest to me. He's so good at like just making sure I don't go broke. And I don't go to jail for not paying taxes, because when you have your own business, geez, that's weird. The taxes thing, it's just like honor code. You have to just pay it. You have to just send big checks. It doesn't get taken out and then they give you some back. It's like, oh God, you're buying a car every, you're buying like every quarter, you're buying a Toyota, 4Runner or something. And it's just like, and it's like, and if you don't, ching, they put you in jail. All right. Michaela asks, what is your philosophy on staying present and letting go of past regrets regarding projects, pivotal relationships, etc.? I have the opposite problem. I'm like kind of sociopath, and like I just let things, physical things and relationships and stuff, I just let them deteriorate due to neglect. So regrets, I've made a few, but then again, regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. And I guess I'm just kind of I kind of work to get past everything, just to do more work, because it kind of is a salvation in some sense. It takes time away, it takes away your brain power to worry about stuff, and then you get fruit from it. Chloe asks, what are your thoughts on maintaining one's desk? Oh, I love this question. So I have a reset where my desk gets reset, and like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pencil jars and a whatever. This is like a 72-inch long by 18-inch deep desk. And I have a lamp. It gets reset. But then when I'm making something like a video, it can get as chaotic as need be. So I just let the chaos, and then I'll bring in there's another desk right here. I have this like reserve supplementary desk if I need flat space to put things on. But I used to live in Glassell Park in Los Angeles, and I think I counted like I owned 17 desks or something like this, because it's my favorite piece of furniture. So those are my thoughts. You got to reset between projects, but then during the project, and remember, my projects are a week long. So reset between projects, and then while the project is forming, you can make it as messy as you need to be. But then I do a little straightening. I'll always be knolling a little bit sometimes, but sometimes it's just a mess, and I love that too. Grace asks, in your recent video, 39 Things I've Earned the Right to Quit, you say you'll never see this face in Mexico City again. How come? I'm thinking of traveling and living there for a bit, so would appreciate your take. First of all, I'm over cities, because not only did I live in New York City, I lived in Berlin, I've lived in Toronto. while I was living in New York City, and I've had these professional creative jobs, and I worked in the art industry for a long time. And you're going to all these cities all over the world doing work and living with people and blah 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 blah. And I'm just sick of cities. And the older you get, when you get like to be 40, your brain develops uh, to be more responsive to, I'm not using the right language, but your brain becomes more perceptive of patterns. Whereas when you're young, your brain is more perceptive of novelty. So when you're young, when you're in your 20s or so forth, and you see all the tiny little differences between Copenhagen and Oslo and Stockholm and Madrid, because you see all the little differences. But when you're older, you just see what's the same about them. And my brain is just like to the point of like kind of almost, I went to for a wedding, I went to Florence, and I hadn't been there for 30 years, I think. Could it have been? Am I that old? It was either like 25 or 30 years. Like I went to a wedding there in 2016, and the last time I'd been there was 1995. So what is that? 21 years. And I was just like, what have you done? This is Florence, and you've turned it into Toronto. There's like a Ferragamo store over here. There's Ferragamo stores. There is 877,000 Ferragamo stores per square mile on planet Earth. I don't know if you know that. There's Ferragamo stores and like chocolate this and this and this. And it's just like, anyway, like I'm getting to why I don't like Mexico City. Anyway, all the cities are kind of the same to me. So I just want the ones that are the least hassle. And I've always found that Mexico City, I was driving to Mexico. I was driving to Oaxaca, and I had to drive through Mexico. I was driving from the Bronx to Oaxaca, and I had to drive through Mexico City, right? And it's this enormous city with all of this traffic, and there's like one exit you got to take to make sure you're on the right highway or whatever. And like all of the signs had been destroyed. They looked like they'd been destroyed. They looked like they had been shot with like machine gun artillery fire. So you couldn't read any of the signs. And I kept getting, this was like for hours, I kept getting like vortexed into the actual city of Mexico City in my F-350. And I was taking notes on a on like a digital recorder at the time. I wish I still had this thing, but I lost the recorder or whatever. I don't know what happened to it. And I was just like, never, ever, ever, even if your life depends on it, even if the one you love most will die if you don't go, never, ever, 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 ever go to Mexico City ever, ever, ever again. And there's a Nice Step Brothers episode where we're in, when Casey and I are in Mexico City, and we went and did some talk, and we asked for a bigger fee than everybody else. Apparently, I don't know. We just asked for a fee, and somehow it got out there, and people were like really pissed about that. And they're like, "Why didn't you get in?" Like people in the audience and everything. We put on this cool show, and people were just like bratty and mean. And every meal was making me sick. At first, I was totally enchanted with Mexico City. I thought it was so cool, and like the street food was amazing. And we went to like Gibraltar Square, and we went to all these cool restaurants, and we went to this bar. And I think every bar says this. They say this about every single bar in Mexico City. They say, "Oh, Pancho Villa rode his horse in here." It's like in Madrid, every bar, it's like, "Oh, this is where," or in Paris, "This is where Ernest Hemingway used to get drunk." Okay, sure. It's too much hassle. It's just too much hassle, Mexico City, and it's too big, and I don't care. And Mexico is so great. There's so many amazing, amazing, amazing places, and Mexico City just doesn't do it for me. And I lived in New York for 20 years, so it's people talk about how cool it is. They're mostly city people who like it. Like, I don't know. I just don't like it. It's a big city. Anyway, that's why you'll never see his face in New York, Mexico City again. Acid Kawasaki says, we talked a bit about business side on here before. What are some thing to do and not do at museum shows or gallery shows for increasing your chances of selling your piece in the end? What are some lessons learned? Okay, don't get drunk at your, if you have a museum show or at a gallery show, don't get drunk. Keep a list in your back pocket and a pencil in your front pocket and write down every single name with a little note of everyone you meet. I mean, I don't know how you do this digitally, but on a paper, you can have it with the event on a piece of paper. On the digital, on your phone, it just gets, it's just more data. But just, Tom, whatever, like Jeff, and then in parentheses, owns Amazon, like a name and then a note so that you'll remember who they are. So that, you're going to be building a relationship with these people. That's a crazy world, that little art industry. That is a little kingdom. You are working, you are a member of a court. You are a courtier in a kingdom. And you have to be very, very conscious and very, very skilled at understanding who all the powerful people are and how to play it. Read the book, 48 Laws of Power, and that thing applies perfectly to the art industry, because that is how there's like 8 people who control the whole thing. But yeah, and just be very polite and be very friendly, and increasing your chance of selling your piece in the end. God, I don't know. You just got to make good relationships and be likable and be cool, and don't be like too cool. Okay, Hans asks, have you met Adam Savage? I recently saw a YouTube video from his channel showing off Tom Sachs's 10 bullet hip pack. Thank you for your videos. The first video of yours that I watched was a love letter to plywood in architecture school 10 years ago, which was very inspiring. All right, that was Tom Sachs and me. I've had dinner on multiple occasions with Adam. I've had meals on multiple occasions with Adam Savage. I think I would say more than 3 times. I have had sat down and had a meal with that guy. And I've met him a bunch of times, and super friendly, just like he is on TV. Super friendly, is an encyclopedia, knows anything, any subject matter you want to talk about, any question you have about anything. He could tell me what was wrong with my starter if I told him. Yeah, and then just full of stories and super charismatic, super cool guy and enthusiastic. He's like a kid, but he's a grown man. Lucas asks, I'm a new patron, so forgive me if you've answered this before. I'm still catching up. You say New York collected and organized your scattered mind, and LA was your reward for living in New York. What tactics / workarounds would you have for a scattered mind headed to LA? So you're coming to LA. Okay. Plan on, have a car in LA. Have a cool car that you like. Have a cool car that you think is cool that you like. This is a cool car. I like this cool car. Doesn't mean you have to watch those Donut Media guys, or watch the Breakaway one. Do you remember what it's called? The new channel? Let me see if I can remember it. The 2 guys, Jeremiah and the other guy, started their own channel. It's Big Time. Big Time is what it's called. Not so much Big Time, but maybe Donut Media, those guys, and watch the cool cars for under 10 grand, cool cars for under 7 grand, and get one of those cars, or get an old, oh my God, listen to me, get an old Chevy pickup truck with a 350 in it, because you'll be able to, the gas will kill you, but so what? But you'll be able to fix it anywhere if it breaks, and what you spend in gas, you'll save in service, and they're cool. Or something, or whatever your thing is. I highly recommend that. Or if you are a motorcycle person, if you're not a motorcycle person, you should never ride a motorcycle. But if you are a motorcycle person, if you want to ride a motorcycle and you have the personality for it, the bravery and all of that stuff, there's no better place. There's no better place, man. I've been everywhere. There's no better place than LA for motorcycles. And there's no better place for cars than LA. It's the truth. So that's what I would say. Because you're going to be in your car or on your motorcycle a lot. You want to be in that, and then having to maintain that thing and keep it going. You're going to meet people. You know, if it's an old beater, you're going to meet people. You're going to meet the Toyota guy or the whatever. I got my Toyota guy, you know, I have my diesel guy. Um, so that's a very big part of it. And then LA's never really been I've worked in LA as a New Yorker on specific jobs, but I've never needed to have a job in LA. You know what I mean? Like this, I could have this job that I have now. I could have anywhere really. So I don't really know about that side of LA, like career side of LA. Like I said, like, you know, I built a career in New York, and then my reward is I got to live in Los Angeles with the skills and the, you know, infrastructure I built with that work. LA is also, it's more for family people. It's more like a girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife and kids and stuff kind of place than New York is. LA, you eat at home more. You're going to learn more about making your own food and stuff. And then the nature, and LA is an outside city for people who love the daytime, and New York is an inside city for people who love the nighttime. And those are your big differences. Wake up early, and Angelinos wake up early, man, and do stuff. The parks are crowded in the morning with runners and so forth. As far as work around, if you have a scattered mind in LA, scattered mind. You got to have a focus, have a target, something you're trying to do. Unless you're rich, then you can do whatever you want. But yeah, I would have a target. I want to do such and such. Okay. Got a couple more left here. Augustin asks, any new Toyota Land Cruiser trip adventure planned? Thanks for everything you do and share. I have this idea. There's a couple dads of my kids' friends that are both motorcycle guys. They're both BMW, like adventure bike guys like me, and they're around my age. And I want to like organize a trip, like a 2-phase trip where the dads, me and the two dads, ride down Baja, not the whole peninsula, maybe just a few hours into Baja, like maybe 2 days into Baja, like come from LA, and 2 easy days, and find a cool kid place, a cool like kid circuit place, maybe on the east coast of Baja, on the Sea of Cortez side of Baja, where we could come back with our Land Cruisers, and one guy has a Land Rover Defender and the other guy has like a Bronco or something, and come back with the family to go to the place that we scouted out and discovered with the motorcycles. So that's something I'm thinking about. But no, just every weekend, every Sunday. Been going up to Ventura, California, which is where Patagonia started. In Ventura, the X Games were there like a few weeks ago. My boy and we went up there because he wanted to pull railroad spikes out of I told him about growing up. He said I was a bad father because I never brought him to the train tracks to pull out railroad spikes, because I told him I grew up on railroad tracks and we would walk the tracks. And every once in a while, there would be a spike that was loose enough that you could pull out of the railroad tie. And so we went to Ventura to do that. And the police caught us and said, get off the tracks. And I was so psyched because my boy would have walked those tracks for hours and hours and hours until we found one. So I was so psyched. Cop in a cop car. He got to go and test and try to pull a couple spikes out. And cop was just like, get off the train tracks. And I was like, X, we're going to get arrested. And he's like afraid of police because he's 6 or he's 5. And that's a fun adventure. It's like an hour up. We drive up, we park, we pay $10 to park like down at the beach. And then we get our bikes. It's more of a bike adventure though. And then we go up. The bike paths there are really cool. And we go and they close the downtown down. They put up barricades so you can ride your bike. That's a bike adventure. I don't know why that's not but we take the Land Cruiser to get there, and the Land Cruiser has the bikes on it. So there you go. When's the best time to visit LA? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, the best time to visit New York is marathon slash Halloween week. That week is the best time to visit New York. The best time to visit Los Angeles. Wow, this is a great question. Okay, if you like, oh, this is such a great question. You know what? The summer is really good here. You know, there's all this heat. I don't talk about this, but there's all this heat wave stuff, blah, 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 blah. The other day, I was lying in my hammock. I had a down coat and a hat on because it gets like, there's parts of LA up in the mountains and stuff. It's like cold. Up in Virginia, it was cold. We were wearing Patagonia zip down coats on our bikes 2 weeks ago, July. So the summer's nice. I would say avoid LA like September, October, like August, September, October. It is a furnace here, and that's when the fires come. And the fires are, fires, hurricane and fire. There's absolutely no. They're at opposite ends of the fear spectrum. Because fires are terrifying. The winter, if it's rain, but it's not pouring rain. It's not East Coast rain. It's like fair rain. It's overcast and rains, and it's kind of like a beautiful kind of rain. It rained a lot this year. So the best time, oh God, yeah, I would say probably May, June, something like that. Okay. Do you ever want to make a video but decide against it because it might not fit your audience or style of filmmaking? Sometimes, yeah, I tried to make this video. I started writing this video called Why We Love the Desert. And I just couldn't get it to go anywhere. And it's sort of morphed into that video where we find that weird old abandoned hotel, that purple abandoned hotel. But yeah, sometimes that happens. Or it just gets pushed further down, like I get to it later. But sometimes I'll think about quitting it, and then I'll just be like trying to figure out how to quit, not do it, and then I'll come up with like a kind of a breakthrough. So I don't know, but yes, the answer is yes. Sometimes I decide against because it doesn't. Yeah, it might not. The audience might not connect with it. I kind of want to get over that. I kind of want to be more selfish about making things that, not trying to make things for others that other people, to be a little less considerate. I really admire those artists. I don't believe them, but I admire those artists who are just like, I just make it for me, man. I never think about the artist. I mean, I believe Bob Dylan kind of, but I just don't think that that's humanly possible, that to not consider your audience. So then why record it? Why have an engineer make sure the sound levels sound good? If it's just for you, what, you listen to your own albums all day? No. Do you have any tips or best practices? This is from Sabayashi. Last one was from Indie Wrestling School. Sabayashi says, do you have any tips, best practices for making voiceovers? Yeah, get yourself a good mic. I don't think this is a very good mic, but maybe it is. I don't know. And then one of those Rodecaster things. Make sure the levels are all good and everything. And then go slow. Do your voiceover at half speed. That's my advice. Go slow, and then try to talk the way that you talk. Maybe try to see how I'm stopping the way I talk. I could, like, because I don't have one of these functioning brains. Try to read your voiceover like that, like the way you talk. Robert asked, how can I stand out more to get more commercial gigs as a one-man band filmmaker director? You said do simplistic pitches. Did you do cold calls? I think you mean simple pitches. Simplistic means overly simple. How How can I stand out more to get more commercial gigs as a one-man band filmmaker director? You just got to meet a lot more people, go to parties and go to a lot of social stuff and go to openings. And, if they do film premiere stuff and just talk to people, go to lunches, find your people that you like that have companies that you like. The companies that have the most money to pay you to do stuff are companies that make apps, companies that get seed money to develop apps and services on, computer services. Like, BetterHelp is going to have a lot more money for you than BMW, even though it's going to seem like BMW has more money. They don't. Or like, you know, uh, mm, ClickUp is going to have more money than Milwaukee Tools, even though Milwaukee to you is more famous, but no, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, and just find people who need you. Like, find the small companies that you don't ever work for free. Don't ever work for free. If you're doing a job, don't do it for free for exposure or whatever. Never. You just get paid something. But get more commercial gigs. Yeah, be undeniable. Um and then try to, if you can get somebody to be your representative. I work with a company that just they people ask them, you know, that we want to make a blah blah blah. We want to do blah blah blah, and then they come to me. Do you want to do it? No, but okay. Sometimes yes. Uh, do you do cold calls? Isabel does. Isabel cold called BetterHelp, and that was huge. That was a really huge and really smart. And I'm glad. I love working with them. They're really great to work with, and it's a really great product, a really great service. And that's all of the questions I see in the. I read the questions from below the announcement that I put up on Thursdays before live streams. So that's all of them. And sorry about the delay in the beginning. Thank you so much, patrons, for making my dreams come true and making me allowed to take my boy on a fun trip for his birthday next week. And new video coming out on YouTube on Monday. And it has the beginning. Frankenstein stole the beginning of the all the fixes I did in Austin at the repair station. But then the second half is the LA repair station, and it has kind of a good little arc to it. So it'll look familiar at first, but if you stick with it, it's new. All right. Have a good weekend and take care, everybody.